From the News Channel 5 Network, this is OpenLine.
Well, good evening and welcome into Open Line. I'm Chuck Long here with you for the next hour. One of my favorite episodes we're doing tonight. It's Ask an Attorney, Ask the Expert, and our expert, as always in that field, is Kevin Kennedy from the Kennedy Law Firm. 35 plus years in business with the Kennedy Law Firm, one of the most trusted, most respected law firms in the state of Tennessee. And there's a reason why. They know what they're doing. They've got the knowledge. And during this next hour, if you have any of those legal questions that you've been wondering about, this is the place to call, 737-7587. Welcoming in our expert,
yes,
Kevin
I'm
Kennedy.
glad to see you tonight, Chuck. Man, we've been through all those times when we had the Zoom. How good does it feel to be back in the live studio?
Oh, it really does. And
it does.
And the other thing is, when we were Zooming, during the pandemic, it was always great that we were able to do that. But there's just something about the energy when you're here, and I think people can feel it when they have those questions. Yeah.
Well, we love to do this, and we always think about putting this out. If you know something that you can help somebody, it's our natural desire to want to help. And Chuck does a great job. He fields these questions, so y'all don't feel hesitant in the least to call, and we'd love to try to share with you and see what we can get done.
Absolutely. And of course, if you've ever watched, and we know a lot of you are regular viewers of the Ask an Attorney episode of Open Line, when you have one of those questions, get online with us as soon as you can so that we can get to as many questions as we can during the next hour, because the only thing that I ever regret on the show is we don't get to all the calls by the end of the show.
It is so true. So you just keep trying to call. And always, Chuck is always great about saying, if there is a question you have, believe me, the viewing and the listening audience, there's thousands that would love to hear the same question. So for whatever reason, you can be a little bold. You can ask what you want to ask tonight. That's what this show is all about. And so when you get a question and an answer, you've helped a lot of other people. So go right ahead. Don't hold back. Let's show a little boldness tonight. If you've got those questions, fire away.
There you go. And one thing I've learned from sitting next to you, Kevin, for so many years, which I've enjoyed immensely, is how much I learn every time I'm here. I feel like I said I'm going to the University of Kevin Kennedy.
Yes.
But it's great. I mean, the law is complicated.
It
is so complicated, and you need an expert.
Well, the truth is, you've got to, I like to encourage people, when I run law firm meetings for a host of young lawyers and paralegals, one of the things I always say, y'all come in here and y'all take notes. And so we brainstorm, because someday when you're doing this, you're training your mind, you're helping prepare your family, you're protecting your rights, because in the clinch moments, that's why we have training and education. It'll make a difference. And sometimes I have so many clients, I wish I'd known that. I wish I hadn't said that. Kev, I think I messed up. They were on me and took me by surprise. Well, hello. Don't be taken by surprise tonight. Do it. Let's use some common sense and some time to prepare ourselves and our family.
Absolutely. And there's such a broad range of questions that people have about whether it's, criminal law or personal injury or the hospital or nursing home care, planning a will, planning, your estate planning, that kind of thing. And, and I've learned recently, even in looking at wills, and we had to redo a will, there were just so many things that I had no idea.
I heard
the language I didn't understand.
Well, Chuck, it's one of the puzzles of life. We are supposed to know all these laws. Well, did they teach it in the first grade? Did they teach it in high school? Did they? No. So that's a really hard standard to be an American in the American judicial system, because no one ever told you. And you said, wow, I didn't know that. How are we supposed? You are going to have to seek out and try to get that information for yourself.
Absolutely. So welcome into Open Line. We're going to start the show off, and as we do, don't forget the number on your screen is that number to call, 737-7587. So let's go to the lines tonight. First caller, Dorothy. Welcome in. We're glad that you're here.
I just wanted to call in. I don't have a question, but I want to know, Mr. Kennedy, if I could send you and him some squash pickle and some salsa.
Come on now.
Office. Homemade, and I want you to have some, Chuck.
Well, I appreciate that, Dorothy.
That is too sweet, and we do appreciate it. The truth is, Chuck, you are so kind. God loves a cheerful giver. One of the things that we say at the Kennedy Law Firm, we get all kinds of cakes and pies, and there's notes, and they say, well, why do all these people? I said, well, they are grateful, and we are very grateful. It's more blessed to give than to receive, so thank you. I appreciate a spirit of generosity. Now, don't make Chuck too fat, you know. We've got to keep that image going.
Well, you know, but she said the magic word to me was salsa. I tell you, I'm all about some good salsa.
Yes,
Coming
who
from
is
Texas.
it?
That's
It
right.
is.
So love that. You know, Kevin, as we talk about some of the issues that people have, one of the things that I think that I've also learned is that people say, well, do I need an attorney or not, or can I handle this on my own? But then you get into the thick of it and you realize you should have had an attorney.
Absolutely, Chuck. And I have that question. Do I really need an attorney for this? Hello, come in. 2022, you'll hear Kevin Kennedy say, you go to the lawyer first. If we get control of a situation early on, it'll make all the difference in the world. You've heard the old saying, loose lips sink ships. It's true. And, you know, I like to say this. They call me and they say, Kevin, what do we do if an investigator comes up and they want to question me? Well, you can always do this, Chuck. It's a good lesson. Sir, can I have your card? And this is not a convenient time. Can I get back to you? You can take that card. Then they leave. You call the lawyer. Kevin, they're on me, and let me have the number and let me call. Let a lawyer go in between you. And that way you can protect yourself. You don't get trapped in to saying, well, you need to do this, or there's intimidation or bullying. Let the lawyer handle it. And so, great advice, Chuck. Learn the lesson well. Teach your families.
Absolutely. All right, let's head back to the lines. Carolyn is online with us. Carolyn, welcome into Open Line. Do you have a question or a comment for Kevin?
Yes, I'd like to ask him if someone lives in a home, but they use someone else's address for their home where they don't live. They're saying they live there. Is that legal or unlegal?
All righty. And that's really could be considered perpetrating a fraud. You know, some people live in the state of Tennessee, but they have a Kentucky address, so they might get some benefits from the state of Kentucky. Don't do it. Somebody turned you in, and the next thing you know, you've been indicted for some kind of fraud. So what I always love to tell people is honesty is the best policy. You might get some gain in the short run, but you will not. You know, the Bible says you'll reap what you sow. The law, I don't know every law, but I do know the theories of law. And it is meant, it's against public policy for you to deceive anyone. So if you're dealing and someone's deceiving, I'll believe that you will find a law that's against that behavior. I teach you don't do it. But yes, ma'am, thank you for that comment, because we have a lot of people say, hey, I'm going to use this address. Don't deceive.
Great question. You know, and talk about, I don't know if it's necessarily deception, but some people, unfortunately, it may be. But, you know, like one of the newest things that I've been hearing about, you know, Venmo. A lot of people using Venmo to pay people with and that sort of thing. And now Venmo is putting a thing saying, you know, if this is for a service, you make over $600, you have to declare that.
Yes.
And of course, the IRS wants to know about that.
Yes.
So people were trying to take advantage of that system, but it eventually catches up with you.
It will. And so here's what I like to say, too. If you don't really understand when they're using Bitcoin to pay or all these different methods, then don't. You know, the great Benjamin Franklin said, when in doubt, don't. So he said that over 200 years ago. I think that's great advice. It's wisdom. And you hear this lawyer say, if you don't understand it, go get in. Because so many people want to come back to me, say, Kevin, I think I've been ripped off. This is a scam. Now I can't get through. So you should take care of yourself. Remember the old Latin? It says, caveat emptor, let the buyer beware. So there's a host of ways how someone can really talk good and smooth. Hello, come in. But then you're sad and you're regretful. A good understanding does keep down a misunderstanding.
Absolutely. And if it seems too good to be true, it probably is.
Yes,
so.
yes.
All right, back to the lines right now. I think we have Perry on the line with us. Perry, good evening. Do you have a question or a comment for Kevin?
Yes, I ain't on TV, am I?
You sure are.
You are, and go right ahead. We're glad to have you.
Okay, what I wanted to find out, my son is named Brandon Boyd. Okay, I have a 1999 Ford Escort that I bought and paid off. And he come down and he said, Mother, he says, I'm going to get you this SUV because it's an automatic, where this one is a straight shift.
Yep.
And I said, okay. And I lived at an apartment where you couldn't have two vehicles. He said, Mother, sign the title over for the Ford, and I'll take the Ford, and you can have the SUV.
Yes.
So I did what he said, and a few months later, he come back and got the SUV and left the car. Well, I've got a problem with I can't get the title. Get him to come down and sign, bring the title or file for a lost title. I've tried everything, and I can't get no response for him. I've went up to his father's house and told him, and I just can't get no response. And here I am trying to buy tags in Moore County, and I live in Warren County.
Okay,
and
I got you right there. So the one thing, it's so sad whenever we have a family member that does something that's not fair to another family member. My heart goes out to you. We're in a new day. We see it more and more where a child may take advantage of a parent. And in your situation, I feel sorry for you. So what is the word to the wise out of this circumstance? If we do business, have a good, clear understanding, get the title. That title needs to be, and if they're giving you a song and dance, don't buy the song and dance. I want the car, I want the title, I want to make sure it's clear. And if you don't, you're taking on risk. Well, how do you solve that? You may have to sue him. You say, well, he's got nothing. Well, then there's other things that a person can do. There's all kinds of ways that people can get titles. I don't know if you knew this or not, but if you left your car at a mechanic shop, they have a way that they can get a title and through a mechanic's lien going down the road. There's a host of ways that you can get another title, but it costs money and it's time consuming. The best advice, whether they're family, friends, or not, is to make sure when you buy a car, a motorcycle, whatever it is, that the VIN number's right, you got the title. And some people just say, well, I got a bill of sale. But guess what? The Tennessee Motor Vehicle Division will not accept that without that title. Check it. And if you got any questions, go down to the clerk and say, hey, is this good? Can we get it done? And I'm very careful when I buy cars out of state. And I love cars, and I bought some expensive, and I went and I said, is everything great? Because every state, the titles are different. They got a lot of counterfeit titles. So that's the lesson. Thank you. I'm sorry for your circumstance, but I appreciate your question.
Absolutely, we do. We've got a lot of you online with us. If you are just tuning in, make sure you do get online with us, 737-7587, so we can get to as many of your questions as we can during this hour. A lot of help coming from Kevin. We are going to take a short break, but when we come back, we'll answer more of those questions. You're watching Out and About. No, you're not. You're watching Open Line. All right, come on back with us.